There was a time when Earth was not blue as it is today. There were no trees, no birdsong, no one listening to waves roll onto a shoreline. The sky glowed with a shade of orange. The atmosphere was toxic. Nearly the entire surface was covered in lava. And yet, around 3.8 billion years ago, life began. This planet was still young. The solar system had only just emerged from its chaotic childhood. Asteroids collided relentlessly. Volcanoes poured out rivers of molten rock. The oceans churned violently. It was a world we couldn't survive in for even a minute. But life, as it turns out, is not fragile. Scientists discovered a strange carbon signature in ancient rocks in Greenland. It was the kind of carbon typically processed by living organisms. Something had altered it. Someone, or something, had been there. Perhaps it wasn't even a cell yet. Perhaps it was merely a molecule capable of copying itself. But in that moment, the chemistry of the universe began turning into biology. There were no fireworks, no celebration. Most likely, nothing noticed at all. But the future of the planet had changed. By 3.5 billion years ago, real players had entered the stage: cyanobacteria. The name sounds impressive, but they were microscopic. These tiny organisms began using sunlight to produce their own energy. They were performing photosynthesis. And as a byproduct, they released something else: oxygen. Today, we can't survive 3 minutes without it. Back then, oxygen was poison. Imagine a group of microbes slowly filling the atmosphere with a toxic gas. This was Earth's first major environmental crisis, and it was triggered by organisms too small to see. Around 2.4 billion years ago, oxygen began accumulating in the atmosphere. For many primitive organisms, it was catastrophic. A mass extinction followed. But sometimes progress begins with collapse. Oxygen led to the formation of the ozone layer, filtering harmful solar radiation. Cells began producing energy more efficiently, and energy meant complexity. Complexity meant evolutionary leaps. If we can breathe today, we owe it to the bacteria that once ruined the atmosphere. Ironic, isn't it? At some point, life developed a new strategy. Simple cells merged. One cell swallowed another, but didn't digest it. Instead, they learned to live together. What we now call mitochondria are relics of that ancient partnership. Cells stopped being rivals and became collaborators, one of the greatest alliances in evolutionary history, perhaps the first startup merger. The result? Larger, more complex cells. Without them, there would be no plants, no animals, and no us. Here's where it gets interesting. After life began, for nearly 3 billion years, Earth was inhabited only by microscopic organisms. 3 billion years. Writing is only 5,000 years old. The Industrial Revolution, roughly 250 years. The digital age? Just a few decades. But microbes? They ruled the planet alone for 3 billion years. Technically speaking, Earth is not humanity's planet. It is a bacterial world. We simply joined in the final chapter. Why did it take so long? Because complexity is expensive. Multicellular life required division of labor, sacrifice, control systems. It was, fundamentally, an organizational challenge. And nature is never in a hurry. Around 600 million years ago, multicellular organisms began to appear. Then, 541 million years ago, the Cambrian explosion. Suddenly, eyes, shells, fins, predators. As if life said, now we accelerate. But the real question is this: how did life begin? We don't know for certain, but there are strong possibilities. Perhaps simple molecules combined in the oceans, energized by lightning. Perhaps chemical energy from deep-sea hydrothermal vents sparked the first reactions. Perhaps the building blocks of life arrived on meteorites from space. Whatever the scenario, one truth remains. Life does not violate the laws of physics. It may be their inevitable consequence. Given enough time, enough chemistry, and the right conditions, the universe eventually produces beings capable of observing itself. We are stardust that became aware. Microbes are still here. Remember this. Your body contains more bacterial cells than human ones. Your skin, your mouth, your gut. All part of a microscopic ecosystem. Without them, you couldn't digest food. Your immune system would weaken. Even your mood would shift. Microbes are not just heroes of the past. They are the invisible governors of the present. We imagine ourselves rulers of Earth, but the true masters are microscopic. We are merely a temporary layer built upon them. Consider this. If life began so early on Earth, why not elsewhere? Mars may once have hosted microbial life. The subsurface oceans of Europa and Enceladus hold potential. Complex civilizations may be rare, but microbial life, it could be far more common than we think. If we discover life in space, it likely won't be towering aliens, but microorganisms, and that discovery may become the greatest in human history. Not because we aren't alone, but because it would reveal that life is a universal process. Earth's story did not begin with giants, kings, or empires. It began with a cell, silent, invisible, persistent. For billions of years, these organisms patiently reshaped the atmosphere, transformed chemistry, and made the planet habitable. When you look at the stars, you think the story began up there, but it began below, in the depths of oceans, inside rocks, on a microscopic scale. And perhaps the most astonishing truth is this: life emerged from chaos. Order arose from randomness. Consciousness evolved from chemistry. And now the universe watches itself through our eyes. Maybe the real question isn't, how did life begin? Perhaps it is this: how did something so ordinary become something so extraordinary? And maybe we haven't reached the ending yet. Perhaps we are only an intermission in a microscopic story. Earth was once a planet of bacteria. Perhaps it still is. We just haven't noticed.